Welcome to the Sports Council.
Right now, being a free agent, even when we were setting up this interview, you're like, let's put it as a maybe. Like you said, you get the call from your agent and you are at the airport. Like that, what's that like? It's not a lifestyle that many are accustomed to.
Well, you just got to be ready for sudden change.
The council is now in session.
With a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
I'm Sebastian Gutierrez, Pasco graduate and NFL free agent.
You've had an interesting path. Started at Pasco, then went to Minot. Go Beavers.
Yep.
I think your dad, when I was at the Tri-City, saw me wearing a Beaver hat, and he was instantly like, so I found out that connection before I knew your story.
Yep.
So walk me through, since Minot State, you say free agent, and then we last talked after the draft where you were signed to the Broncos. So just walk me through your path.
Well, from after the draft and after I was with Denver briefly, I did a brief stint with them through preseason and camp my first year in the league. And, it went pretty well. Obviously, it was kind of like, small fish in a big pond type thing coming from D2. But I thought I did some really good things. And then obviously I didn't make the team there after preseason, but I think I learned a lot more than anything. I think I grew as a player, and I kind of knew what was expected from me going forward. And I was grateful to get another opportunity with the Patriots shortly after. And then there was a short stint there in New England. For whatever reason, I was released after 1 week with them. And then I ended up spending the rest of the season with the Raiders. So after week 9, I believe it was last year, I spent the last 9 weeks or so with them, and then the whole off season up until the draft. And I got a lot of really good development in working with the Raiders coaches and personnel, and being able to go against one of the best players in the NFL, Max Crosby, really helped my development as an offensive tackle. So, that part of my journey was, I feel like, a very pivotal moment, just when I was able to experience such great competition, good coaches, being in a great organization, and just being able to, more than anything, learn and develop as a player and as a human. So that was awesome. And then unfortunately I was released from there shortly after the draft this year, and I went to the Kansas City Chiefs almost immediately after, I think about a week after, and I tried out with them during their training camp. It was cool. It was really fun. It was really cool to be on a winning program, just a environment that breeds winning, and learn from some of the guys there and how they prepare and how they go about the game, and how they treat the day-to-day process of being on a championship caliber team. So unfortunately I was only there for most of OTAs. I was there for the summer, and then I was there for fall camp and preseason. I didn't make the team there either. It was a very good experience being in that training camp. It has been said it's one of the hardest in the NFL with Coach Reed, and I definitely could see why people say that. It was not easy by any means, and I got a lot of good work and experience in. And I built some good friendships, and it was kind of like it was just a stop in my journey that needed to happen, for the development of my career and me as a person as well. So, and then, shortly after that, it was week 2. So sorry, I'm kind of dragging on, but week 2, I was signed back to the Raiders, and I ended up, that was kind of a weird way that it happened. It's kind of like a split-second thing. They called me, and within like an hour and a half, I was on a plane going to West Virginia, which is weird because they were actually practicing up in West Virginia at that time. And so the first week back with the Raiders, we practiced up in West Virginia because I forget who we were getting ready to play. I think it was like Buffalo or something. It might have been Buffalo. And we stayed up there for the week, practice, everything. Very beautiful place. And then came back to Vegas, and I got settled in and had 6 really good weeks there. And unfortunately, I was injured at one point, and I had to be released with an injury settlement. And that was one part of my career that I'd never really it's not that I didn't expect it, because you get everybody in football is going to experience an injury of some sort or another, but up until that point I had really not experienced an injury of this caliber to where it was limited myself in practice, and I wasn't able to practice. So that's definitely a huge learning moment for me, and just mentally having to deal with all that and be able to bounce back from it. And currently I'm still, I would say I'm healed from my injury, and I'm ready to get back out there. It's just a matter of time it's more of just a waiting game now. So, and that's been my journey.
Yeah, it's been very interesting, just the fact of we talked about pre NFL, and we'll get into that later, but right now being a free agent, even when we were setting up this interview, you're like, let's put it as a maybe. Like you said, you get the call from your agent and you're at the airport. Like that, what's that like? It's not a lifestyle that many are accustomed to.
Well, you just got to be ready for sudden change, and it's kind of like football. Like, things can happen in a split second, and you got to be able to react and come back from any adversity you might face or whatever. But yeah, no, it's definitely a different kind of lifestyle. Wasn't necessarily what I was thinking of when I was thinking of an NFL lifestyle, but it's a free agent life. You get a very few opportunities, and you have to take advantage of them, and you have to show what you got, or you could be just back on the street and looking for another opportunity. So it's definitely been different, but I'm taking it in stride. I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm just training, staying ready here in Pasco. I've been back and forth between Minot and Pasco over the last few weeks, just training. Went to see my girlfriend, and just kind of getting the things done that you wouldn't normally have time to do during a football season, but just seeing family and being present for people as much as I can, and as well as staying ready for the next opportunity.
Yeah, you're having to keep yourself motivated, because if that call comes, you need to be ready. But at the same time, talk about that mentality, because like you said, you go into a hard workout and you're like, what am I training for? But you're training for a call that you don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty much I'm staying as ready and as in game shape as possible with the resources that I have here. And it's kind of just like I have an idea of what NFL teams expect. So I'm doing everything I can to be like, okay, if I had to practice tomorrow, could I do it? Am I in good enough, cardiovascular shape for it? Am I strong enough to be able to do it? And that's kind of how I prepare myself, is just, strength training, conditioning training, skill training, doing the same things I would normally do during a normal week of practice with an NFL team, but now I'm just doing it on my own and just waiting for that opportunity. So.
Yeah, and then to start this, going to Denver, you grew up a Seahawks fan.
I did.
Watching Russell Wilson, and then you got to meet him in Denver. What was that like?
No, that was amazing. It was really cool to just meet a guy that you watched on TV, growing up and whatnot. And I had a brief conversation with him, or a couple brief conversations, and he's just a great guy. Like, he's just, a good team player, a great leader, and, just for the brief time I was there, that's what I noticed. So, and it was awesome to be able to, be able to play with the same guy that I watched on TV. So it was cool.
Did you get to meet Alex Singleton when you were in Denver?
I did. Yeah. He was a great player as well. Really good linebacker. I'm sure I might have went against him a few times. I don't really remember a whole lot from a year ago, but I know he's a good guy and he was a great player, great competitor for sure.
Yeah, I covered him before he went up to the CFL.
Okay.
I did some writing, so that's
right.
fun. And then he's also from California, so same neck of the woods as well. So that's another story that I'll have to poke him. Get him on Zoom or something.
That'd be cool.
And your first time, you're working, and I know you say the free agent life, you're not exactly where you want to be, but it just takes one opportunity.
Yep.
But you have gotten to step on the field and play in preseason games.
Yep.
They're televised, and it's just the same besides it kind of having the caliber of being a full-time player. So what was that like? Explain the feeling. I mean, everything is there for preseason. That must have been such a cool experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. From Denver last year to being in preseason games to Kansas City this season, it's honestly, it is a dream come true. Like you always want to play at the highest level, and like me growing up, I grew up kind of different than I am now. I wasn't a lineman my entire life, but still the same point. Growing up, you always want to play at the highest level. You always want to play against the best of the best, and just being able to do that. Last year as a rookie coming out of a Division II school was amazing. And it really gave me a lot of confidence, for my like self-confidence, saying I can actually do this. I can perform at this level. I can play this game, and then that confidence followed me all through last year, and then to when I was playing guard with the Chiefs this year. It was cool. I mean, it was the same feeling. It was just exhilarating. I had a lot of confidence, and I was fairly, excited every game and ready to show off what I could do. Because what I really wanted to do was show that year of growth. How much better I had gotten since my rookie year, and I feel like I still have a lot to show. I still have a lot to put out there. Before my career is over. So I'm definitely happy with the opportunities that I've had, but I'm not content. I want to do a lot more and show what I'm capable of. So.
Going to different teams, and you kind of talked about it, that the hardest part of the game over the past year has been finding your confidence, which plays so much into the game. So what have you learned where you say that you've grown over this past year? Besides confidence, what sorts of things have you learned spending a year in and out of the NFL?
Well, I've learned a lot about my body, and I've learned a lot, like nutrition-wise, strength-wise, building myself up to being the build of an NFL lineman, right? Because when I first came in, I was I wouldn't say like scrawny, but I was definitely smaller for a lineman, an NFL lineman. And my agent was always in my ear. He was telling me, hey, you gotta get bigger here, be stronger, all this kind of stuff. This is what the team is saying, like, that you need to work on. And so just learning, having that feedback from teams, and finding confidence through preparation has been huge for me. So like just preparing my body in every way that I can, and my mind too, because like you got to watch film and you got to do all these other things that come with, not just playing football, but preparing to play the game. So definitely found a lot of confidence through preparation in that aspect.
And Minot, that's so fun. I spent five years in Minot. What did you think of the town, the Magic City?
It was cool. I really enjoyed it, actually. Despite popular belief, I really think it was a great city. I I enjoyed my 6 years there that I lived and played football there. It's the people that make it, I'm sure you can say the same thing. Like, there's so many nice people around there. They're always willing to give you an opportunity to do something. They're always willing to help out the football team or any sports team for that fact. I just know a bunch of athletes and other fellow athletes that had opportunities for jobs and internships in the community and being able to just really grow as people while being in Minot. So I have nothing but good things to say about it. Met a lot of great people over my 6 years there, and teammates and community members. So it was awesome.
Yeah, it's a little warmer in the Tri-Cities right now than it is North Dakota. What was your favorite thing to do in Minot?
Probably play sports, obviously, but I would say outside of sports, just hang out with teammates. Just do the various things that there is to do, like maybe go bowling or whatever every once in a while. But it was a very mellow town. Like, there really wasn't much to do besides hang out with your friends, play your sport. If you weren't in sports, go to class, whatever, So, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I feel like I think back to my college time. I played soccer there.
Yep.
And like you said, it was just kind of chill, where I think more about the moments, whether we were at the North Hill Bowl or meeting up in the mall. There wasn't a lot to do there, but it was just more of the atmosphere that once I got out of college and I was out for a couple years, I'm like, what am I doing in North Dakota?
Yep.
But I really cherished my time there.
For sure. Yeah.
And then the Tri-Cities, originally from the Tri-Cities, graduated from Pasco High.
Yep.
How does it feel just being back in the Tri-Cities?
It's awesome. I love the community, and I really love Pasco High, and obviously that's where I went to high school and played football and basketball and whatnot. So I always want to see our programs do good and continue to build on their past successes and try and form newer successes that they're able to. And I know that there's a lot of guys that are working really hard, whether it's coaches and players, and we just got to put the pieces together. And I'm really excited to see what happens in the future with both of those programs. So it's awesome.
And for kids that maybe like I said, you're a D2 player that is an NFL free agent, and a good one at that, because sometimes people say that they're free agents, but their phone never rings.
Right.
That's not you.
Yeah, right.
What message do you have there's a lot of football players and a lot of hungry football players in the Tri-Cities?
I would just say, coming from Pasco High and taking the Division II route, I would say you just got to believe in yourself. And I think that was the hardest thing for me coming out of high school was I just lacked self-confidence, and I just didn't have, the confidence to be like, I'm just going to do this. And I would say to all the young football players out there, you just have to work harder and prepare harder than everybody else. It doesn't matter if you're smaller or, your coach has you play in a position you don't want to play, or, you just got to embrace it and just work really hard at succeeding in your goals, and setting your own attainable goals. So, and I would say that's how I did it too. I set a few goals, and I was like, okay, these are attainable goals. I set them, I attained them, and then I built on it, set more goals, and then set more goals. And then eventually, by my senior year in college, I was all conference, Division II All-American, and I kind of just embraced the process. I know people hear that word or that phrase all the time, embrace the process and trust the process, but it really is a real thing. You kind of just got to get, fall in love with the process and keep attaining and setting your goals. So that's about it.
Yeah, that was something that from a prior conversation we had. You came to Minot as a tight end. I've seen pictures of you in high school.
Yep.
You do not look the same. So
right.
I don't know the correct term to use, but scrawny. You say, I was scrawny for the NFL. No, you take a look at you in high school. It was completely different. And then you shaped yourself into an NFL caliber lineman. So if somebody knows how to, quote unquote, trust the process, it's you.
For sure. I agree. And, like you said, I was 185 pounds in high school. And, over the course of my 6 years, I gained over 100 pounds. When I left for the draft, I think I was right around 300 pounds. So, and yeah, like I said earlier, just trusting the process, dedicating your time, and really loving the process more than everybody else around you. Just falling in love with it. So that's really all it takes.
What parts of your game do you feel are your strengths?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I've, with my background in playing a skill position, especially in high school and early in my college career, I've always been able to move my feet really well, agility wise, and I think I'm pretty fast for my position. I move well. I make movements that some other guys can't. Which is not to brag or anything, there's things I can do that are. I
asked you what you do well. That's kind of low key, and I think you're the first to say what you're good at, but you're also, I know I am the first to say what I'm not good at. So this is your platform.
For sure. No, I appreciate it. But yeah, I would say just being agile, being able to move my feet and get out of bad positions pretty well. And then, like I addressed earlier, things I've worked on in the offseason, some of my weaknesses were just getting that play strength up to where I can handle NFL D linemen, whether it's like a nose tackle that's going to be 360 pounds or it's, an NFL 3 technique that's 270, but it's super twitchy. So having the best of both worlds to where I can be strong and quick at the same time.
And how is it going between different teams, different processes? And then not only that, but you have to prepare for so much. And even on a roster, you're having to prepare for different people, different personnel coming at you. What's that process like?
Well, from my experience, I'm spending two camps in the NFL. You're going to get a lot of very good players. And it's what I mean by that is like, in the NFL, guys can do everything. So just because you're big doesn't mean you're going to be slow. They can be twitchy. They can move really well. And I think the preparation for that is, you have to be physical, but it's all mental. It's a mental game. If you tell yourself, I don't want to mess up, you're probably going to mess up, right? And you literally have to go in with a mentality of like, I'm going to win this rep. Even if you lose the rep, you got to have that supreme confidence that you're going to succeed. It doesn't matter who you go against. So, and that was a big thing for me too, is just finding that supreme confidence that I'm just going to win this rep. I'm going to go and win this rep. And even if you lose it, it's like, okay, I'm going to get the next one, And I know that can be hard, especially when coaches are watching and scouts are always evaluating your one-on-one reps or your team reps or anything. But, I would say the preparation just comes from having confidence and knowing that you can do your job just as good as anybody else. So.
And back in town for the holidays.
Yep.
What are you up to this holiday season?
Just hanging out with the family, see my parents, my brother, my grandma, just various family that are in the area. So just having a chill time, and like I said earlier, just doing the things that I wouldn't normally be able to do if I was on a team. So just taking advantage of it, because you never know what's going to happen in the coming weeks or days. So
back in your hometown, and what is your favorite thing to do in the Tri-Cities?
Honestly, just hang out with family. I had a couple friends come and visit the last week, so it was good to see them. They were passing through, going to Portland. But honestly, it's just been family time. I'm more of a homebody, so I just kind of chill at home, train, and see family. So that's about it.
Well, enjoy your time in the Tri-Cities.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that wrap up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to this show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council, and it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community.
You're listening to 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.